Hey y'all, welcome to Back Porch Cooking and Reminiscing. We're the Morgans and we're happy to have y'all here with us today. Remember to hit that subscribe, like, and hit the bell button. Kind of based on one of our restaurant recipes for our Sunday dinners, but going to be a little extra something there just for me. Now, y'all may not know this, but breakfast is one of my favorite meals. I'd rather have breakfast than to have anything at all. So today, the restaurant part of the recipe is going to be the steak. But instead of doing it with like cream potatoes, green beans, and all that like we did in the restaurant, I'm going to turn it into a breakfast meal. So we're going to have steak and eggs and gravy and biscuits. So we'll get started on that in just a minute. So y'all stay tuned. Remember, need you to go and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Click on the like. Click on the bell so you get the notifications when we put a new video on. And if you would, go and share our videos with your friends. Y'all got friends on Facebook, I know, so go share our videos with them so they can see how to cook some of this good food. All right, we're gonna get started. All right, y'all. So we've got two really nice pieces of minute steak here. Was at the store the other day and saw them, and I thought, boy, that really does look good. So went ahead and got them, and so we're gonna do some cooking on them. But I'm gonna show you, if you watched our video earlier of the pork chops, we're going to kind of do the same thing with these that we did with pork chops. We're going to batter or put flour on them and then brown them in a skillet, and then we're going to put them in that Dutch oven that we put those pork chops in. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get us a little bit of oil to go in our skillet, because we need some oil to do some browning with. So we're using just regular old Crisco oil. We're going to put some of that in our skillet there. Just kind of going to fill the bottom of it up pretty good, because just like with the pork chops, it's going to kind of soak it up a little bit. All right, and let's turn our oven or our eyes on. We're going to get it up to about a 4 just to get it warmed up good, and let's go maybe a 5. All right, so now here's what we're going to do with the steak. We're going to put a little bit of salt on there. And we're going to put a little bit of pepper. Not a lot unless you like it really, really kind of hot, but so there we got us some salt and some pepper on there. Now we're going to take just a little bit of flour. Not going to need the whole lot, but we're going to put some just on top of each piece. And then we're going to spread that around. We want to kind of just get it coated with that flour. And you may have to get you a little more flour, or that what you put on there first may do the trick for you. Definitely, I think I'm going to have a little more on this piece. So we're going to coat that up good. Like I say, we used to do this steak in the restaurant for our Sunday dinner, but we would serve it with a brown gravy and cream potatoes and green beans or something like that. We're going to flip it over. All right, we're going to get us just a little bit more flour. We're going to put some on each side. A little bit more. I'm telling y'all, this steak turns out, if you saw that pork chop video and you saw how tender those pork chops were, this steak turns out just as tender. Now, y'all probably bought minute steak before and took it home and cooked it up. And once you got it cooked, you take a bite of it and it'd be so tough. And chewy that you just didn't really want to eat it. That's not going to be the case with this because this is going to be some really good stuff here. All right, so we've got it coated good there, both sides. And let's see here. All right, we're getting there on the temperature. I'm gonna clean my hands up, and then we'll come back and we'll get that put in that oil, get it heated up. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit more. So we'll be back in just a minute. All right, so we've got our grease is hot enough now, so we can take these and drop them in the oil. All right. Now save this flour. Don't throw that away. Just set it to the side because we're going to use that again here in just a little bit for something else. All right. So we're going to brown that steak on each side. That's going to take just a few minutes. It won't take long. But you know, my mom back when I was a kid, for breakfast, she'd do this minute steak just the same way I'm going to show you how to do it here. And then she'd make the eggs and the biscuits and the gravy, and man, that's one of the best childhood memories, of food that you could have when my mom would do that. And that's where I got the recipe from for doing this is from her. As I say, we do a lot of times do it and have it with the cream potatoes and green beans or peas or whatever, vegetable that we want. But this is what I like to do for breakfast. All right, let's see how we're looking there. All right, let's turn it over again. Get that other side brown just a little bit. And then, like I say, we're going to go in this Dutch oven with it. Let's put us just a touch of oil in that Dutch oven, not very much, just kind of a little bit to help this to continue to cook. Now just kind of put a little bit on the bottom of the Dutch oven so that it would be able to keep everything cooking good. All right, let's see how we're looking here now on that side. Maybe just a minute longer. Won't take long at all. All right, we're going to turn our heat off on this. And we're going to pull our Dutch oven over here. Let's also go ahead and get our oven on. I won't make the same mistake this time as I did the last time when I found out my Dutch oven wouldn't fit in my upper oven. So we're going to preheat this to 350 degrees. All right, let's get our steak out of here and put it in the Dutch oven. All right, that looks really good in there. And we're going to move that skillet back there. And again, you're going to save this. Don't get rid of this because we're going to use it again in a few minutes too. So now one of the things that I did neglect the last time was telling you that when you put something in the Dutch oven, you're cooking like this, you want to put you about a quarter cup of water in there with it. So we're going to pour us about a quarter cup of water in there. And then we're going to put that lid on that Dutch oven. And we're going to put that baby in the oven. And I'm telling you, if you haven't got a Dutch oven, it's one of the most awesome things that you can have because you can cook about anything in it. You can cook stews, you can cook soups, you can cook meat like we're doing today. Just so many different things that you can cook in a Dutch oven. So if you don't have one, think about going to Walmart, buying you one of those Lodge cast iron Dutch ovens. They're really worth it. All right, we're going to come back here in just a minute and we're going to do some biscuits. So y'all may have seen me make biscuits before, but I'm going to show you one more time here. Uh, Same process as we used the last time. I'm here by myself this week. Wife's out visiting her sister and her brother. So I'm not going to make as many biscuits as I normally do. So what we got here is about 1.5 cups of flour. All right, and we're going to put some shortening in it. And again, like I said last time, you can use lard, you can use Crisco, just whatever kind of shortening that you want to use. But for this one, I'm going to use about that size on a fork of, I'm using lard because that's just what I got today. And we're going to put that in there and we're going to mash that up in there and get that incorporated into our flour. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute when we get it done. And what you want this to kind of look like consistency of a kind of a cornbread. We may have to put a little bit more in there. That may have not been enough. We'll get it all off the fork there. And somebody commented on the pork chop video about being gloved up. Well, since I'm cooking this just for me, I'm not going to really worry all that much about being gloved up. So now when we're in the restaurant, of course we did. Anytime we were cooking, we always made sure we had gloves on. But for my home recipes, I don't think I need that. So we put a little bit more in there. Yeah, and you got to get a little dirty when you're doing this, but that's what makes it good. And if y'all remember back when your grandma was cooking, or maybe even your mother, they never measured anything. Same thing here. I'm not going to do much measuring on anything. So we've about got that all incorporated in, and as you can see, it kind of makes that flour ball up a little bit, and that's what makes your biscuits good. All right, so we're going to come in with a little bit of buttermilk now because we're going to make buttermilk biscuits. You can use sweet milk or buttermilk, either one, don't really matter. Just, your preference. And mine is for buttermilk biscuits. So we're going to open us up a brand new container of buttermilk. We're going to pour a little bit in there. And again, no measurements, just put you a little bit in and start stirring it up. See what happens. You start getting your dough, and then you'll know. And if you put a little too much milk in there, just add you a little more flour back to it. It'll be fine. And if you haven't got enough buttermilk, you just add you a little more buttermilk into it. And this is looking pretty good, but we could use just another little touch of milk. Oh, that smells so good. Now, y'all, I don't drink buttermilk. I just not one of my things. When I was a kid, my dad, he loved buttermilk, and he liked to drink just a glass of buttermilk with a piece of cornbread. But not for me. I'm just not a buttermilk fan. All right, now you can see this is starting to pull away from the sides, and that's how you want it. And you don't want to over stir it, just get everything good and incorporated into that. Alright, now then, we're going to take us a little bit of flour, put on our cutting board, because we're going to make some biscuits. Alright, about that much flour for right now. Just kind of spread it out a little bit so that when you put your biscuit dough on there, that flour will be in a big enough place that your dough just goes right on there. Scrape it all out. Get all that you can out of there. Alright. And again, this is a messy part. Can't make biscuits and not get messy. Alright, we're going to take just a little bit more flour and put on top of that. That way that'll help with when you get ready to start rolling your biscuits. That flour will keep them from sticking to your hands and sticking to your cutting board and all that good stuff. So just want to kind of knead it just a little bit. Now be careful, don't overwork it, because if you overwork it, your biscuits are not going to raise. Alright, so now if you got a rolling pin, you can roll them out with a rolling pin. And I've got one somewhere, but I'm not going to take the time to go and look for it. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, like Grandma would have done if she was making them. Alright, now we get them flattened out there the way we want them. Let me get my hands washed up a little bit here and get all this flour off. These are going to be some good biscuits. Alright, got the hands cleaned up. Let's get them dried. Now, I've told y'all before about people saying that when you're cutting your biscuits out, don't twist the cutter. Again, I've done it both ways. Haven't really been able to tell a whole lot of difference in it. But we're going to use just an old-fashioned glass because I don't know where the biscuit cutter is at. So we're just going to use this. Get your little flour on the rim of your cutter, whether you're using a biscuit cutter or using a glass like this. Alright, and then just go in there, cut you one out, cut you two out. I twisted that one. I don't know if y'all saw that or not, but it'll be alright either way. Alright, now before we put our biscuits in the pan, I'm going to take us a little bit of butter. Just kind of smear some butter all around in there. That'll help them to keep from sticking. And I'm using cast iron skillet. And I think cast iron skillet makes the best of pretty much anything. Whether it be biscuits or cornbread or just whatever. But we're going to put a real good coating of butter on there. I'm using real butter. We're not using any margarine or anything like that. We're using real butter. Alright, so we're going to take our biscuits now. And you want to kind of pick them up and kind of fluff them off. You can see about how thick that they are there. Alright, we're going to put one in there. Alright, and again, just kind of shake it around in your hand a little bit just to help with the knocking a little bit of the flour off the bottom of it. I like to put my biscuits close together. I don't like them apart. Don't know that makes a bit of difference in when you're cooking them. We're going to take the rest of our dough here and we're going to work it up a little bit more again. Try not to do it too much because it will make your biscuit not raise. So, all right, that looks pretty good. We're going to put it back down on there. We're going to flatten it. All right, so our meat steak is getting really close to being done. Our biscuits are getting really close to being done. So let's start on our gravy now. Now remember, I told you don't throw away that oil that was in the pan that you browned the meat in, because we're going to use that to make the gravy. So you can see there we've got those drippings from the steak, getting that warmed up. I also told you don't throw away that extra flour that you had when that you were doing your steak, because we're going to take that flour and we're going to put it in here to make our gravy with, so we're not wasting anything. Now, I know some of you may say, well, but that flour had raw meat in it. Well, we're going to cook it, so it's not going to matter that it had raw meat in it. So we're going to get all that flour put in there and see if we need any more. That may be enough to do the amount of gravy that we're going to make, because again, like I say, I'm by myself this week, so not going to need a whole lot of gravy. Let's see what we got. We're going to take that now and we're going to just stir it around in here and see what we come up with and whether we need to add a little more to it. And I'm afraid we're going to need a little bit more. That's not hardly going to do what we need to do. We'll let that warm up a little bit before we put any more in there. Now, I did put us a little bit of butter on the biscuits, on the tops of them. Try to help them to brown a little bit and keep the tops good and soft and everything. Let's look at those, see how they're coming. Looks like they may be starting to brown pretty well. Oh yeah, they're starting to brown up, so won't be too much longer on that. And we're starting to get our gravy mixture starting to boil a little bit, so let's put us a little bit more flour in there with it. And on this, you want to add your flour in kind of slowly and see where you get to. But again, if you do get too much flour in it, you can always add just a little bit more of the oil to it. And we're going to need just a little more. And what we're going to do, we're making a roux is what this is called. And we're going to, it'll thicken up. The more flour you get in it, the thicker it'll get. And you want to brown it a little bit so you get a good brown gravy. You just keep stirring it. If you got any little lumps in it, as it gets hot, it'll melt out those lumps. And everything will be fine. It's still not hard. I got enough flour in there, so I think this little bit right here will probably do the trick for it. I'll show you what you roux, what you want it to look like once we get everything mixed up and put together, kind of show you how thick you want it to be. Yeah, that's looking good, looking good. So we're gonna put a little salt and pepper in there too, because nothing worse than gravy that don't have enough salt and pepper in it. And again, with the salt and the pepper, put you a little bit in there, and when you get it done, you can taste test it once you get the gravy made, and if it's not got enough of one thing or the other in it, you can put a little bit more in it. Alright, so we're going to let that sit there and brown up. Yeah, that's starting to smooth out really nicely. Alright, let's do a check on our steak here. See how that's looking. Always remember, use you some pot holders because everything's going to be hot. And when you open one of these Dutch ovens, anything's got a lid on it, you always want to open it toward you so that everything's going away from you because it's going to have steam in it. Yeah, we'll grab us a fork here. See how tender we are. Oh, that's almost there. It needs just a little bit longer. So we're going to put the lid back on. Throw it back in the oven there for a few more minutes. All right, now back to our gravy. Well, we'll check our biscuits here before we do that. See what they're looking like. Yeah, they're almost there. All right, we're gonna stir our gravy up again. All right, now it's looking like what I want it to look like. Show that to you here in just a second. So, if you like white gravy, you can not brown it as much. And sometimes I do like white gravy, but for this, I really like a darker gravy. So, this is what you want your roux to look like. If you want a good brown gravy. All right, so I've turned the heat down, and we're going to be ready to put some milk in there. Now this, we're just using regular white milk, no buttermilk in your gravy. That probably wouldn't be too good. Now again, you can add the milk, but once you put it in there, if you put too much, you can't come back and add more milk or add more flour to it. I mean, you can always thin it down, but you can't thicken it back up once you make it. All right. So now with gravy, the big thing is that you just got to stand there and stir because it will start to get thick quick. See how quickly that's gotten thick, and so we're going to add a little more milk to it. Again, not too much. Just put a little more in there. Stir it all around. See what you got. Now that smells so good. And it just depends on how thick you want your gravy to be. And which right now it's still way too thick. So a little more milk. And we're going to stir that all in until we get it to where we want it to be. Just be sure you stir all around the edges and in the middle, and just get that milk all incorporated in. We're getting close on it here now. Put just a little bit more in there. And remember, I've turned the heat down. You could probably at this point just about turn your heat completely off. So our biscuits are ready to come out. And this is what your biscuits are going to look like. They sure do look good. We'll set those over here to the side. And then let me show you what this gravy is going to look like. So this is what you got when you do your gravy. See how it pours off of your fork, but it kind of sticks to it too. That's pretty much perfect gravy right there. So we're just setting it over here to the side. We're going to close up this oven because we don't need it anymore. All right. And now we're just waiting to see if our meat's ready yet. And once it's ready, we'll be ready to fry some eggs. So let's see how we're doing on the meat. It should pretty much be done. Alright, pull that out of there. Remember, open that lid away from you. Alright, get us a fork and we'll see how it's looking. Oh yeah, it is ready. Alright. So we're going to get us a plate. Put us a piece of steak on. Because it, just like anytime you cook any kind of meat, you need to kind of let it rest for just a few minutes and close that oven up. Alright, and again, you want to always use a spatula because there's some good stuff up underneath there. And you want to make sure you get all the good stuff. Alright. Trying hard to get the good brown part of that steak. That's why it was taking me a little longer and having to work a little harder on it. But so there is what our steak looks like. And that is perfectly cooked. And took about an hour to cook it in there. You could probably bump that temperature up maybe to 400 if you wanted to do it a little quicker. But I wasn't in a hurry, so we're good on that. So we're going to turn our eye on here for doing some eggs. Like I said, we're going to use that same pan that we were using when we did the steak, when we browned the steak. We got our gravies ready. All right, we need to grab a couple of eggs out of the fridge. Well, I may only have one egg, so if one's all we got, then that's what we're going to be doing. Yeah, we just got one, which that's fine. That'll work. I wouldn't have minded having two, but one will do fine. So we're going to crack our egg. I got chickens, and right now they're molting, and so they're not laying me any eggs. And so I'm having to do store-bought eggs, but normally I've got fresh eggs, which they're really good, but we'll use the old store-bought white egg. Give it a crack and put that in the skillet. There's our eggshell. All right, we'll go a little salt and a little pepper. And I like my eggs over easy. And so that's probably how I'm going to cook these. Although sometimes I get a little carried away doing something else and I wind up cooking them a little more than over easy. But I'm going to try my best too, because this dish is really, really good with an over easy egg. So we're going to cut our heat up a little bit. We've got our biscuits over here. And oh yeah, none of them stuck, so they're all good. Got our piece of steak. Now we just got to wait on this egg. And as soon as that egg gets done, we will be ready to have a feast. Bring our piece of steak over here, because what we're going to do is we're going to put that egg right on top of that steak. So we just give it a few minutes to get to cooking, and then we will have us some food. Now I tell you, if y'all do try this at home, you're going to see how good this is, and you're going to think, well, why have I never done this before? Now, I still got one piece of steak over here. I'll probably have that later on this evening, maybe do it as a steak sandwich or something. So I'm going to put the lid back on that and just set that over there to the side. And that egg starting to cook. Let it cook up a little bit there, and then we'll do a quick flip on it. And as I said, I like mine over easy, so that's how I'm going to do it. Yeah, it's starting to move around. Yeah, let's see. I think we can probably get under there and give it a good flip. Oh yeah. All right. I'm going to turn that eye off, because like I say, I like mine over easy and kind of runny. I'm going to try not to overcook it. That should be about enough. Oh yeah, it's still jiggling there on the inside. We're going to put that over our steak just like that. Now then, let's check our gravy here and see if we need to thin it down any. I believe it's going to be okay. All right, let's get us a spoon here for getting us some gravy out. All right, we're going to get us some gravy, and we're just going to put it right over top of that steak and that egg. And you can cover it as much or as little as you like. I like a lot with mine, so. All right. And we'll get us a biscuit. There's our biscuit. There's our steak and egg. All right, let's cut into that and see what it looks like. I'm going to use a knife on this just to kind of not tear it up with a fork. So I think you're going to enjoy what you're going to see here. Get the camera positioned down there a little bit better. Oh yeah, look at that. And does that not look good? So I'm going to let that cool just a touch, and then I'm going to come back and give it a try. So we'll be back with you here in just a few minutes after it's had a chance to cool down. All right, so it's had a chance to cool a little bit. So let's cut us a piece here and see how it tastes. Always want to make sure you get your egg on there and get you a piece of steak. All right, now here we go. Mmm, it is so good. And it's tender. Look at that biscuit. Break us off a little piece of biscuit there. Just a little bit of that gravy on it. Oh my goodness. Those biscuits are out of this world. All right, y'all. There you have it. Breakfast for supper, steak and eggs, gravy biscuits. And y'all remember, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, hit that bell button, and share with your friends. All right, we're done. I'm going to go sit down and enjoy this. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one.